What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ring the Bell Show. I'm Chris Francisco. Jason Kent joining us from the dead. I mean, he's here. He's alive and well. I wouldn't say well, but he is alive, and thank God he's here. We got breaking news. I mean, I know it happened about an hour or two ago, but this is, it's a Sunday afternoon, so when you have kids, Jason knows, a lot of people that are watching this know, you know, Saturdays and Sundays are when you got to get things done. So I was not expecting the Phillies to be the very first team in Major League Baseball in the offseason to make a splash. Splash happened, and it's official. Pending physical, which I'm sure is fine. The dude's never been hurt in his entire career, so I'm sure he's good. Aaron Nola.
Because now we know what's going to happen. Spring training, game 1.
Yeah, I know.
But
we got it's official. The Phillies are the first team to make a splash. Aaron Nola signs a 7-year deal worth between 170 and 172 million dollars. And look, I'm not going to say that I called it, but if anybody wants to watch the show that we just posted, I called almost to the number. And I called a week or so ago when I said I think he's going to take a team-friendly deal if they give him a couple more years. It seems that's exactly what they did. The Phillies and Dean joins us now. And like I was just saying, Dean, the Phillies are the first team to make that splash. And what we do know now is, and Jeff Passan tweeted this out, that the Atlanta Braves were a significant threat down the stretch to get Aaron Nola away from the Phillies. But as negotiations with Nola and his agents went on, the Phillies stepped up and gave out their biggest contract for a pitcher and the 11th biggest ever. Bob Nightingale of USA Today was on top of this from the beginning. So let's kind of talk about this. I know most people, a lot of pundits and a lot of fans thought that Aaron Nola, and it's justifiably so, he had told teams, or his agent, he didn't say anything. His agents, his reps had said, 5 years, 200 million, 5 years, like 7 years, 200 million, 210 million. He ends up taking significantly less money, signs a 7-year, $172 million deal with the Phillies. John Heyman had a great tweet. He said, Nola met with other teams. He turned down more money to remain in Philly. Teams love Nola for his durability, but Philly players love playing in Philadelphia. This is huge, man. Like this is something that many people didn't think was going to happen. He was good. He was destined for $30 million a year, destined for it. He doesn't get that. He's 24, 25 a year now, and he's just another player on the Phillies roster, guys, who's taking less money to stay here instead of going out and getting more elsewhere. Basically the pick of the litter. Jason, I'll start with you, and then I'll move down to Dean. Your thoughts, man, about this whole thing, when it went down, what was your immediate thought? And then where are you now with a couple hours to kind of let it digest a little bit?
So to comment on the last comment you had about Philly guys and players taking less to play in Philly, I just want to say it doesn't matter if they don't come out of this in the next few years with a championship. Like I agree with the sentiment, but they need to get that championship. But I do think at first I was annoyed. Like I kind of, to me, if they were signing Nola, I'm happy with the contract. I don't like the 7 years. I think that's terrible. I just don't want him for 7 years. I would prefer 5. But to get it at 24 million, when you look at a guy like Rodon last year, got really broke off, and he kind of is a similar comp in terms of overall numbers to Nola. Yeah. To get so much less, because Rodon got, I think, a little less money but less years as well. He got over 25. So listen, if
Rodon got 6 years at 162.
So you can't be mad, especially when you said, we offered him around the same average annual earlier.
Yeah.
He didn't pitch himself in, if he had a good season, we probably don't see him. But I'm happy. I think he's a very consistent pitcher. He's an innings eater. Like you said, he's not a guy that really has never been injured. He's only second in the last few years to inning pitch to a guy with Garrett Cole. So if he can, if he can meet somewhere in the middle between where he finished top 5 in Cy Youngs and what we had this year, if he can give me like a 3.5, 3.3 throughout the contract, I'll be happy with it. But there's too many of the unknowns with him to really, for me to say 25 is good. But for what he was projected to get, I guess I'm happy, and it keeps him away from the Braves.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, and it does help looking at other guys, especially if you have big stars and you're like, okay, Bryce took less, Turner took less, JT could have taken less, Nola takes less. What is it over there that these guys, they're in the NLCS, they're in the World Series last 2 years.
Yeah.
You think some of these dudes playing on these teams are going to get paid, and they just take less to stay. So I think it does speak to the organization as a whole and the culture they are building in that locker room and as a team.
Yeah, and Nathan Ackerman posted a really great tweet here, and he said Aaron Nola, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper. No, they left more money elsewhere, no opt-outs, stretched out their contracts so they can lower their AAV. And he said it's a trend now. John Middleton's spending is refreshing, but it's also smart. It's not blank check because it doesn't have to be. Guys just want to be Phillies. They want to play in Philadelphia. And to your point, what you're saying, Jay, is this the trend that, I mean, we give him credit all the time, but it's deserved. I mean, he changed the way an organization's thinking. Did Bryce change the foundation of this franchise to where star players are leaving $30-40 million on the table to play here?
I think so, because when you look at it, Bryce, when he started that deal, he could have gotten so much more.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to be here for the long term. And you still see guys going out, getting paid significant amount of money. But if you have a good culture in that locker room and they really, and listen, this is a team, like I said, a World Series, NLCS last 2 years. So it's not like they're a bad team and he's just signing with them to stay. It is a good team. And I think it does give them the flexibility to go out and really look at a guy like a Sonny Gray who may get a 2-year deal, or even if you want to pay, Wheeler may come off the books. I'm not sure the Japanese pitcher's name that's getting posted this week, but it gives you maybe the option to go look at a guy like him, and a couple of these guys, especially the pitchers that are free agents or some of the position players that you can get on a 2-year deal now, maybe give them a little bit more. Because a guy like Sonny Gray, probably 34 years old, he's not getting a 5-year. Phillies now maybe can throw him a solid, give him a 2-year, 55 million over 2 years because they saved on what they would have spent on Nola. And you still have the consistency in Nola. So I think it's, I guess it does help when you have an organization and a culture of, it just seems like a camaraderie. They all want to play for each other. They all want to be there with each other. And it just seems like a fun clubhouse. And I don't think you can beat that.
I agree. And look, just to remind everyone, it's a 7-year deal for $172 million is what's reported. I'm sure we'll get the official word Monday. Aaron Nola will now be under contract with the Phillies for the entirety for 16 years. Only 2 other players in franchise history played 16 or more years with the Phillies, and that's Mike Schmidt and Granny Hamner. Hamner, what a name.
16. If he's 16 years if he finished out this contract?
Yeah.
So the dude's already going to be a Wall of Famer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he was drafted in the first round of 2014. So he's been here for a while already.
But it's also nice to see too, and I think we've ripped, and even before you and I, and we all started doing this podcast, me and you would talk about the Phillies just inept drafting. Yeah. But it's nice to see, it is cool to see a guy like Nola come up through the system when we've struggled so hard, and you've seen the other prospects, the big names that just haven't done anything, but now you get to see, okay, Nola, while he's not what we want him to be, he's still a very solid pitcher, a very good 3, You could make a case for it too. And then you see Stott and Bohm. It's nice to see them to be able to bring these guys and pay their own guys now instead of just bringing in the JTs, the Bryces, the Casties, the Turners. Now they're paying their own guys, which I think that's that middle ground where you do need the outside talent, but you need your own homegrown guys. So I think that is the biggest positive that I'm taking away from this, that they've drafted some real players to really help with the other, you need both sides of it to win a championship.
So I wholeheartedly agree. And something else that we talked about, that the Phillies could have went the route of replacing Nola via trade, right? I mean, they could have went after, Dylan Cease is out there. Tyler Glass now is available. Corbin Burns, but that would have cost prospects in addition to, extending one of those said pitchers for a long-term contract extension. And, there's no guarantee that any of them would perform better during the life of that contract than Nola. So the fact that the Phillies are able to keep their own guy, they're not going the trade route where they would have to give up said prospects, which
I still think they do. I don't think it'll be in the offseason.
I don't think it'll be in the offseason. Yeah.
I do believe, just looking at Dombrowski's history, I still think he moves, one or two of those prospects and brings in, they're going to have to. I think there'll be a big move before the trade deadline. And I know that's next year, but I still think they have enough top 100 prospects where I do think a move like that happens. And, with a guy like, I know we're focused on this offseason, but you do have a guy Wheeler who next offseason is going to be a free agent. That could let you either let him walk, sign him for a shorter deal. But I still think they do make moves this season.
I agree with you. I just don't know if I definitely think it will be towards a deadline.
Yes.
And that'll 100% be it. So right now that, the Phillies have their rotation in place, hypothetically, theoretically speaking, right? Nola, Zach Wheeler, Ranger, Taijuan, and Christopher Sanchez. Suarez has 2 more years left under team control. Walker's under contract for 3 or more years. Sanchez is locked up through 2028.
Wow.
So obviously, what you just said, Zach Wheeler's situation is probably one they're going to start pivoting to. He has 1 year left under his contract, which is 2024. I'm thinking the Phillies will definitely want to extend him before this regular season to avoid returning to the point where they've gotten to with Aaron Nola, to where they almost lost him, but thankfully they ended up getting probably the contract that they wanted. So that's another interesting offseason topic and storyline to look out for is before March, is Zach Wheeler extended? Do you believe with Zach Wheeler, not to get completely off topic, but we're on the pitching here because this matters now with Nola being signed. Do you think they kind of learned their lesson with waiting on Nola? Do you think it would be smart for them to extend Wheeler before spring training, or do you think it matters if they go out and get another pitcher in the offseason?
No, I do think they're going to look and start talking to Wheeler. It's not going to be, and you could look at, he's probably going to get a 2 or 3 year deal just because of his age. But if I'm the Phillies with how well he's pitched, he's definitely underpaid. So he's the guy. If I'm the Phillies, maybe that could have been, we don't know, could have been part of the Nola discussion. Like, listen, we do want to re-sign Wheeler. We need him. He's pitched, he's outperformed that contract. So he's definitely a guy. If I'm the Phillies, I'm okay giving 32 million a year for 2 or 3 years to Wheeler because of how well he's done. I do think that needs to be the next guy pitching wise, because I think the 3 dudes, I think Stott and Bohm need to get locked up quickly for that. But I think Wheeler is a key cog and needs to, that pivot needs to be to him and get him signed up. Yeah.
I agree. So Aaron Nola, 7 years, $172 million. He will be staying put. He's staying home with the team that drafted him and brought him up. Aaron Nola will be a Philadelphia Philly for what seemingly will be a very long time. So the biggest offseason piece of the puzzle for the Phillies is now been taken care of. It's been addressed. It was either signing Nola or going out and signing or trading for his replacement. They have Nola locked up. That's it. And this is all done 2 weeks before the winter meetings. So
that's what's shocking me.
I'll tell you,
I was shocked. I'm shocked he was the first guy off the board. Very much so. But it makes sense. Like when you look at the Phillies, they did want
Yeah.
him, and all the
Yeah.
talks throughout the season. It makes sense that they really went in and pushed for him. And I am shocked that he re-signed. I really thought he would get that 30 million, from another
Yeah.
franchise. And
Mhm.
just with the way he was talking, kind of didn't want to re-sign with the Phillies. I really thought once this season was over and a lot of the stuff, I thought he was leaving because he did get booed at times this season. Yes, he
Yep.
did start in the playoffs. He had a good, solid beginning again, but he was getting booed. But to me, it just shows that it shows the nuts on this dude. He wants to be here
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this pressure situation where we all, I know we've ripped him. Dean has ripped him tremendously. I
Yeah.
was on the Nola wagon. I jumped off, but it shows the dude wants to pitch in those big game situations with
Yep.
this franchise. So to me, it is a positive, and it shows you
Yeah.
what this dude's made of, that he wants to be here and wants to win here.
And I'm gonna say this, and I've been on the train of shredding Aaron Nola for a long time. And look, barring his performance, it'll stay that way unless things change, right? And that's fair. He's paid to do a job, and if he's not doing his job correctly, then there's going to be criticism. But still, and I've been very vocal about this, I wanted at the end of the season, I changed. I thought about it more. I developed more. I in terms of looking at the facts, in terms of who's available, what the Phillies logically are going to do, and what kind of money this is going to take. And at the end, I did say I really want them to re-sign Nola, and a lot of that is maybe from a homer standpoint. I'd rather watch the devil I know than be terrified of the devil that I don't know, and a guy like Blake Snell. Are we going to give Blake Snell a 5-6 year deal at $28 to $30 million a year? Is he going to go back to that pitcher that's an over 4 ERA? Yes, he's won 2 Cy Youngs. I get it. He's attractive because he's a left-handed pitcher, but outside, again, it's weird to say, but you take away the 2 Cy Youngs, he's a pitcher that's got an ERA
He's
over 4.
That's to me, that was my thing. And I think I even was talking with you about that. To me, if we
Yes.
didn't, I was happy with Nola. I wanted them to re-sign him just because when you look at this year, there's not much pitching out there. And yes, I get Snell's 1-2 Cy Youngs, and I understand all of that. And it's tough to really knock the guy. It's 2 Cy Youngs
Yeah.
is pretty rare air. But when you look outside of those 2 Cy Young seasons,
Yeah.
it's a 3.7. So
Yeah.
it's not a guy that is really consistent. So when he's consistent, he's basically Aaron Nola, but his great seasons were just a little bit better, and he got the
A
Cy
little bit
Youngs
greater.
here.
Yeah. For sure.
So it's not something I'm really upset that we didn't get him.
Yeah. And, I'll be here. I'll say it publicly, and you can, send your hate tweets to me at ChristyFan3, because apparently in modern day America, you're not allowed to have a change of heart or a change of opinion. However, gonna say it, I have gained a significant amount of respect for Aaron Nola and how he's handled himself in Philadelphia, how he's handled himself through these contract negotiations, how he's handled himself since basically, I guess, in his way, since he was lowballed in spring training by the
Yeah.
Phillies, and he never said a word. He never batted an eye, and apparently it did not affect his decision to remain in Philadelphia. Like Jason said, he still wants the ball at Citizens Bank Park. He still wants to put on that Phillies jersey for the rest of his career, and I give him so much credit. He's got a fan in me, and am I going to criticize him if he's pitching bad? Hell yeah, I'm going to, because look, it says Phillies on the front of that. I cheer for the Phillies, and I want the Phillies to succeed. And if the name on the back isn't doing well, I'm going to have to criticize it.
Do you think, because maybe, which is everything going, and I know I don't want to use excuses. I know we
I know
ripped
what
him
you're
for
going to bring
using.
up. Yeah.
Do you think he maybe pitches a little more loose going forward because he knew we had this coming up? Maybe just between the change in the pitch clock and maybe he did feel disrespected with the Phillies lowballing him, and just everything was sitting with them. Do you think where before, we're so used to these guys coming out and just crushing it on their free agent years?
For sure.
To me, he could come. I feel like it is a positive now as well, because I think he comes out this season. He's figured out the pitch clock. It's been a year. Come out a little more loose going forward. I think, to me, I do think it's a positive. He doesn't have to worry about anything. He knows he's got his money. He's getting paid 7 years. He's going to be here. So To me, do you think he could come out more loose and look even better than what he has in his good seasons?
I'll tell you what. I mean, I hope so. I mean, you would think. Well, I'll tell you what. We see many athletes that once they get paid, especially in baseball, it's
Yeah.
I'm getting that guaranteed money. But I do think he's from what I know from the few times I've spoke to Aaron Nola, and if he's a competitor, like he takes his craft very seriously. And he takes care of himself. Clearly, the guy hasn't missed a start in like 19,000 years, right? So, I think he's definitely somebody who cares about his legacy. I think he cares about his performance. And clearly he cares about who he plays for and who he represents. So I think 2023 will end up being an anomaly. I do believe he should. I would love to see around like I'm not going to sit here and be like, God, I can't wait. And I really demand him to pitch like a 2.3 or a 2.5. I would love for him to come out next season and be steady at like a 3.05, a 3.10.
I'm fine. You give me a 3-1, 3-2. I'm okay
Exactly.
with that.
I'm
That's
good
what
with
I
that.
want. If that's what he can show me over the life of this contract, I think he outperformed the contract.
I agree. Yeah.
So, to me, if we can get a consistent, I don't want. It is annoying getting these up and down seasons, but I want to see a 3-1. I still have that belief in him. As much as I said I've jumped off the bandwagon, he has shown that he can do it. So
Yeah.
hopefully, I hope he puts it together and really kind of comes into this season stress free. Hey, I'm here, I'm paid. Let's, we haven't finished the job yet. And let's
Yes.
hope we
Agreed.
don't lose in the NLDS this year, because then that's going to bring back too many bad memories.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're definitely right there. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here. This is the kind of stuff that I told you we were gonna be doing periodically, especially when breaking news happens. We'll come on here for 15, 25 minutes or so and talk about it. And today was a big deal, man. A big deal for the Phillies. They lock up. The outside of Yamamoto, you're talking about a guy that was probably the most sought after free agent. Him and Blake Snell were 1A, 1B.
And it's crazy that he's in the, like that. To me, that it shows you Snell, but it also shows you the respect Nola has, because of the point that Snell has 2 Cy Youngs.
Yeah.
And it's some teams may have been looking at him over Nola over Snell. So it tells you the respect that Nola has, regardless of how we feel about him, the respect he has around the league, that he is either 1A right above or 1B with Snell, a two-time Cy Young winner.
Yes.
It shows you the respect that a guy like Nola, who hasn't won one, really has around this league.
And that's a great point. And the fact that he doesn't have a Cy Young or 2, he's looked at as that guy that teams want for the next 7 years because of how durable he is, the competitor that he is, and the fact that he has had 3 seasons where he's finished top 4, top 5, top 7 in the Cy Young. So the talent is there, but it's staying in Philadelphia, and that makes me happy. As much I'm okay to come on here and say, look, I've shredded the guy more than anyone on this show, but I'm okay.
Dean shredded him a lot.
Yeah,
probably more.
Yeah, so
but that's doesn't matter.
Neither here nor there. Yeah, but I'm coming to everybody here, face to face, man to man, saying man to woman, that I'm really happy that Aaron Nola staying. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for 2024, and I respect the hell out of him for taking a lot less money to stay on the Philadelphia Phillies, and it's awesome. It's a proud day to be a Philadelphia Phillies fan. It's a great day for the Phillies, and a tremendous one for Aaron Nola and his family. So this has been Ring the Bell, breaking news show here. Jason Kent, Chrissy, Francesco here. Follow us on all the socials at Ring the Bell 856. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. We'll be here all off season. So depending on what happens next week, we might have a pop-up show Monday or Tuesday before the holiday. If not, this will serve as that show. It's a great one to have. So if we don't talk to you guys Monday, Tuesday, or whatever, happy Thanksgiving. God bless y'all. Have a great one. Eat up, watch some football, and we'll catch you guys the following week. But yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys again. Have a great one, everybody, and go Phils.